Hi everyone, welcome to another Monday Musings video. Today I'm going to play a little bit with some melt art, show you a lot of little different things. This is something that I put together, and I'll tell you more about this in a little bit. But first I'm going to talk about some other stuff. I have my melt art pot right here. It is hot. It doesn't have anything in it yet, but it's ready, and I'm going to put some stuff in it to melt. I'm going to put in some clear UT to get started. I have it in this larger container. It comes in different size containers. It comes in some different colors. This one is white. There's a black, there's a platinum. I think there might be a gold still. And then there are several colors that you can use to tint your clear or your white, I suppose. If you want it, you could have it opaque that way. Yeah, you can tint the clear UT and have a translucent color, or you can tint your white UT and it would be opaque this color. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of that too. So right now I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of clear UT, and that stands for ultra thick embossing enamel. I'm going to put it in my pot, and it's going to start melting. Actually, I put more in there than I wanted to, but that's okay. We'll deal with that. Okay, so while that's melting, I'm going to set that off to the side just a little bit, and I want to show you some things that I like to play with. These are Martha Stewart's paper clay molds, and she has quite a bit of them, a lot of them. Let's see if I can get them all in the camera frame for you. There's some more, and those, and then a picture frame. Okay, so these work just as well with the hot UT as they do with the plain old paper clay. And let's see, let me leave that one out. And I'm going to leave the cherries out and the butterfly. Okay, I want to show you what I did earlier. Let me put this on a piece of white backing so that you can see it better. Okay, and this I made with clear UT, and I tinted the green, and I poured the green in first for the first part of the mold, covered up the mold, and for this part of the mold, and I let it cool, and then I tinted some clear UT with my red, and I covered up or filled up the rest of the mold, and then when it was clear I popped it out, and I have a red and green strawberry. And another thing I did was I used the cherry mold, and here is that. I used the green for my two leaves and my stems, and then I used red for my cherries. Isn't that cool? I think that would really make a nice card embellishment. So you can use these. They come in packs of 4, and they are very inexpensive. They are under $10 for the packs of 4. So I really like these. These are silicone, and they are really nice, and they can be used for a lot of different things. So I want to show you that I have one of the fern leaves that I did with clear UT, and I have one of the butterflies that I did, and I have some leaves and some flowers, and I've colored these, some of these. Let's see, here's the flower mold. Got a little piece of it in there. There's the flower mold, and it's got 3 different sizes of flowers, and this comes from the leaf mold. And if you'll notice that one of those leaves is right here, that little bigger one I've used here. So I want to show you how I colored some of these. When they come out, if you're just using the clear UD, mine gets a little dark when it gets heated for a while, and so it doesn't come out quite so clear. It comes out this nice little amber color. But what I did for these two is on this one I used Snow Cap mixative, the alcohol ink mixative, to make it opaque, and then I used these three alcohol inks on it. I just squirted some on my little wax palette, and I took a brush and painted them on there. I used 3 colors, and so that's how I ended up with this one. It's kind of a little fantasy flower. And another way I did this one and these leaves was I used the enamel accents in white, and I put it on there to make it opaque. If you don't put something on there to make it opaque, then your alcohol ink colors won't show up because they're too translucent themselves. And for this one I used this and this, and I let some of the white show through. This is Sunset Orange and Sunshine Yellow. The other ones I used for the blue and purple one were Purple Twilight, Pool, and Sailboat Blue. And for the leaves I used Citrus. Okay, so let's make one of those. Let's go ahead and make this one. So first of all, I'm going to put the Snow Cap mixative on it. Or no, let's just go ahead and use the enamels, because this one is a little more opaque. Okay, and I used a water brush on these, but I didn't have water in it. Let me see where I put that. Just because it's a coarser brush, it's a cheaper brush, and I'm not worried about hurting any of my regular, more expensive painting brushes. And when you're doing this, you also want to have a little container of blending solution in front of you. So I'm putting that on there, and it doesn't take very long, just really seconds to dry. So let me go ahead and get my blending solution in here. And this is what you'll clean your colors and things, your mediums, out of the brush with. So I'm just putting that in there. I don't have any water in the reservoir because water and alcohol inks won't mix. So let me find a paper towel to wipe this off, and I'm going to have to step out of the frame and get one. As most of you know, I use only the shop towels. These blue shop towels are excellent for everything. Let me go ahead and cut this one down to a more workable size, a more usable size. I just cut it in fourths, or I fold it in fourths and cut it. Cut along the seams. Okay, that's good enough for now. Okay, so then I'm just going to wipe anything that's left in the brush out with my paper towel. You know, to do it 2 or 3 times if you need to. Just get that stuff out of there. Okay. So I'm going to set this back a little bit. Oh my goodness. And I just dumped that because it stuck to my finger. So I'm going to do a real quick cleanup. And now I have lots of blending medium in my paper towel. Now I want to keep that away from my melting pot because it is flammable. So let's not start a fire. Okay, so let's see. This is still a little sticky, so let's hit it with the heat gun. You want to keep that moving. You can put it up close to it, but just keep it moving because you don't want to melt your UT all over again, because it will. So I just hit that with a quick shot and we're dry. Okay, so now I'm going to put terracotta on, and I do want to just use a brush with it, so I'm going to take a piece of my wax palette, tear a little piece of it off, and put it here in camera range, and just put that on there. The reason I'm not just pouring it on top of our little flower is because I want to be able to control where I put this. So I'm going to put it around the edges. This dries very quickly, so you've got to get it soaked up in your brush as soon as you can. Okay, now I'm going to stick that in that blending solution and take that color out, and come back here to my blending solution covered paper towel, and that'll clean the rest of it out. Okay, and then I'm going to come up a value with sunset orange, go to like a medium value orange, and there's a cat here right in the middle of everything, and I'm going to put that around, rinse that out of my brush. And clean it. Just keep squeezing and pulling it until your brush shows clean. And then the last I'm going to put on there is my sunshine yellow. And I'm going to top it off with that. So there we have our flower. And clean this out again. So it's really, really easy to color these any way that you want to. Okay, so now I want to do the leaf, big fern leaf that I have. Let me close these up and get them out of the way. And I want to do this with a different technique. I'm going to use some Perfect Pearls. And I've got Perfect Pearls Green Patina and Perfect Pearls Perfect Bronze. Okay, so I need to put some medium down for them. So I have this little square of perfect medium, and I'm just gonna press it to my leaf. Now I just cracked my leaf, so you really should be a little more delicate than I am right now, but for our purposes right here, it won't matter. And if that does happen to you, all you have to do is melt it all and mold it all over again. Okay, so I've got that on there. And now I'm going to take a little bit of my green patina, and let me grab for the brush, and I'm just going to wipe some of that on there. Well, let's just work with the big part that we've got. I'm not putting it all over everything because I'm going to now come in with the bronze and go around the edges. Just however you want to do it. Oh, I didn't get any medium on that piece, did I? Now, sometimes when you're doing some altered art, you might want something that's cracked and broken. You know, sometimes you can use your mistakes and your problems. Okay. So let me cover these up because they're notorious for getting spilled everywhere. I had a really bad spill before I realized that the printed part was on the bottom, not the top. Okay, so I'm going to grab another brush, bigger brush, and just kind of brush some of this, the excess off, the part that's not sticking to the perfect medium. But we still want this to not come off on our hands, so then we know that when we spray Perfect Pearls with water, then that sets it. So that's what I'm going to do. And let those dry. So look at how different this looks now from that just little plain clear piece of molded beauty. This is really pretty. And you could glue this onto a piece of altered art, separate it, or even try to put it together and leave that crack there and let it work for you. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. I think those are really pretty and they really shine. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that, and I've got another piece of white card over here. This is something else that I'm going to show you in a few minutes. And then I've got one more way of coloring our clear beauty things, and I'm going to go ahead and use the snow cap. Just shake that on here because I want to have an opaque layer down. Okay, now I'll let that dry while I'm cleaning this out of my brush. Gonna need some more blending solution since I spilled what I put in there earlier. Okay, and I'm just dipping it, saturating it, and then wiping it clean. If I were to ruin that brush, it would be no great loss because it was very inexpensive in a set of 2. But I'm not ruining it, I've cleaned it out. Okay, so let's put the lid on that. Now I'm going to use Twinkling H2Os. These are a watercolor by Luminart. Let me just hit this real quick and make sure it's dry. And all you have to do to use them is you open them up and you put some drops of water in. And then you can put the lids back on them until you're ready to use them. Give it a few minutes for the best results. I can go ahead and work with them now, but the best and easiest result is to let them sit for a few minutes with their lids closed. So okay, we're dry there. So I'm going to put some green on first. This time I'm going to use my water brush with water in it. So I do have water in this one. This one is a lot smaller. So I'm going to just come in here and stir around and load my brush. And I'm just going to start putting this in a few places on my butterfly. And I can make that very translucent, or I can make it a little more opaque just by using more. It's just like with watercolor. The more layers you use, the more opaque it becomes. So, and all I'm doing is using this same paper towel and cleaning it out of my brush. I can also put it in my water bucket and clean it out. Okay, so now I'm going to put the lid back on that one. I'm going to open up my pink azalea color. That first one was key lime, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to stir around in there till I get some on my brush. And I'm going to come over here and paint it on. And I'm making a new color by adding it with some green. Okay, and I'm going to swish my brush. And I've lost my paper towel. That's alright, get another one. So let me go back into the green and add a little bit of green up here and have a little bit more of that new color again. You can cover as little or as much of these as you want to. So I'm going to cover these. And now I'm going to use sunflower. And just add a little bit of yellow. They come in quite a few colors. I'm not certain how many colors they come in, but I've got quite a few in a little bag in here. I've got rich cobalt, wine and roses, got them stored in with my perfect pearls. So let's see, we'll find out. We'll find some more colors. This one is orange peel, China black, frosted green. Here's a white, a nutmeg, solar gold. Let's get that out. And spiced pumpkin. I know that there are more colors than this because when I bought these, I only bought one kit. They come in a kit of several different colors, so I know that there were more colors than what I bought that day. Okay, so let's use the water brush and see if we can gild this a little bit. I think I want to hit it with my heat just to dry some of it down. And it's really beginning to shine. I don't know if you can really see that shine or not, but it's there. So let's do a little more. Now I haven't wet this previously, but I do have the water in my brush, so I'm just going to give my barrel a squeeze and put a little water in there. And see if I can get a good load. Okay, looks like it. So let's just gild him or her just a little bit. Maybe add just a little bit more shine. In some of these areas where I didn't get it before. Okay, so now it's really shiny. So there you have a three-dimensional butterfly just made out of the UT and the mold. So let me show you real quickly how to pour into the molds. And then we'll do something else. So I have my UT is heated now. It's very liquid. And let's see, let's make the flourishes. I haven't made those yet. So let's make the flourishes. So all I'm gonna do is pick it up and pour it right into these molds. That's it. Okay, now you will have to do a little bit of work because the UT will spread, you know, outside of the mold, but you can do that pretty easily. I'm removing some of it right now before it fully cools. But you can wait and do that afterwards if you like as well. Some of them, like the strawberry, you know, you don't have to do this to, but this one's got quite a few curves in it and places. And it's almost ready to take out of there. It won't be too long. Now the little bit of UT that I took off of there, I'm just going to throw right back in my pot and heat over. Okay, I'm going to set this aside just for a few minutes until it has a chance to cool. And I'm going to move my twinkling lights, move my twinkling H2Os out of the way, and I'm going to pick up my Melt Art colors, and I'm going to show you something called a texture tread. And these are also from the Melt Art. It's called a texture tread, and they're pieces of rubber, and one side is the solid motif and one side is the relief motif. This is butterflies and dragonflies. This one is peacock feathers. There's the solid side and the relief side. And I had colored my UTE green for my strawberry and my cherry leaves and things earlier. So I took what was left and I poured it over the butterfly texture tread, and I put it over both the solid and the relief so that I'd get different things. And it's translucent, and it's ragged, and it's fun. It just is really cool to just take this and then glue it onto your piece, your altered piece, with glossy accents or some matte medium or something. And then this one, I had some of my green left over, and I had tinted some red. And what I do is, when it cools, I just put it in a baggie and use it for later. So what I did was I took my red and my green and I put them both in my pot, and I stirred them, but I didn't mix them because they're complementary colors, and if I had mixed them, then they would make brown. But I wanted a mottled color, and don't know how well you can see that. Maybe you can see it now. So it's kind of mottled. So I put it in and I stirred it a little bit, but I didn't mix it. And this is what I got, this really beautiful color, like this. And so what I did is, after it cooled, I pulled it off of my texture tread and I glued it to this little canvas, and I stained the canvas with mustard seed and dried marigold distress stains. And then I took a little bit of the tarnished brass, and I put some on my craft sheet and used my finger to spread over so that it would go on the raised portions. And then I glued some gears to it, and then I took some of these, the word strips, I forget what they're really called, and this one says, reality has limits, imagination is boundless. And I also took one of these little word sayings, the one that says life, and I took tarnished bronze stain and just rubbed it over top of those, because as you know, those are silver, and I rubbed them over the top and I made it work. And then I went around the edges with Vintage Photo Distress ink. I went around the edges, and I also went around the edges of my burlap. So I don't really have this connected on here very much because I'm not really finished with it, but I just went around the edges here with my ink applicator and put Vintage Photo on there. Here is one of the leaves with those two perfect pearl colors on it. And then this is a flower made out of lining material, just really thin lining material. I got a remnant from Joann Fabrics, and I put it in the Tattered Flowers dye, and then I stained it with those same colors, and I think I got a little bit of Vintage Photo in there too. And it just, after I finished, I just kind of started unraveling it because I like the way that looks. And so that's the flower that I added to it. So you can make all kinds of collages and altered pieces by using these, just these texture tread UT things. They just really add a lot of dimensions. So let me show you how those texture treads work. So I'm going to use, let's use the butterfly and dragonfly. And this time I'm going to tint my UT blue. So it only takes just a few drops. It's a very intense color. And I'm just going to put a few drops in there. And I'm going to take my little spoon that came with my pot, and I'm going to stir it around in it. And I think I'd like a little more color than that, so I'm going to put a little more in. When I made that red strawberry, I put quite a few drops in, maybe a dozen or so. There we go. Now again, I kind of like the mottled, so I'm going to stop stirring right there. And I'm going to pour it right onto my texture tread. Whoops. Okay, and now I'm going to spread it out while it's still pretty warm, because I want to make it thin. Okay, So while that's cooling, let's go back to our flourishes in the mold. Let's pull them out. And while it's still warm, I can break off those thin areas that I wanted to cut earlier. This one. And now I said it wrong. I said that I wanted to cut earlier. Once it's cool, you have to cut the pieces. While it's still a little warm, you can break off some of the pieces. Some of those little extras. Okay, it's getting pretty cool now. So, and I'm just going to take these little pieces and throw them right back in my pot to melt them again. You never have to throw any unused beauty away. Okay, and so what I would do then is I have these real little tiny pointy scissors, and then you can go in and you can snip away at any of the areas that overran the mold. And this is not real easy, so if you can use a mold that doesn't have those areas, then you're ahead of the game. But I thought that would be a really nice mold to show you with. And some of those you can leave in there because they are clear, so it's not going to really hurt anything. So there we are. And we can color those. But you first want to put snow cap on there. Or your enamel. You could use the white or the dark. And then you can color them. So let me rinse this one off. Don't want to leave that snow cap in there any one moment longer than I have to. And let's color that one with the purple alcohol ink, just because purple rocks.